Every major organizational choice used to rely on human intuition. Now, we are delegating that authority to probabilistic systems, calculating millions of variables per second. Probabilistic systems are models that make predictions based on the likelihood of various outcomes, rather than fixed binary rules. These are the three tiers of AI integration. At the base is assisted decision-making, where a human decides and the AI recommends. Above that is augmented, where humans and AI co-decide. At the top is automated. The AI decides and the human supervises the result. As organizations move up these tiers, the traditional compliance models built to manage human employees begin to fail. The logic behind a choice becomes opaque, creating a massive operational risk. Designing the rules for these systems is no longer a technical exercise left to the IT department. It has become a primary structural challenge for modern executive leadership. Yet, most organizations deploying these models today are operating in a regulatory vacuum without formal frameworks to guide their use. To address this, international bodies have converged on a specific architecture designed to achieve trustworthy AI. This chart shows the 5 pillars of ethical governance. A board cannot simply tell an algorithm to be transparent. These concepts must become verifiable policies, bridging the gap from technical robustness at the base to human explainability at the top. Successfully translating these pillars into daily operations is the first step toward managing an organization's potential algorithmic liability. Standardization begins at the macro level, where international bodies are establishing the requirements for trustworthy AI. In 2024, the OECD updated its intergovernmental standards to focus on systematic risk management and inclusive economic growth. OECD is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, an international organization that works to build better policies for better lives. Contrast this with UNESCO's 2021 framework. It grounds AI ethics in human dignity and proportionality, meaning AI use must be strictly justified by its intended benefit. UNESCO is the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. Meanwhile, the United Nations and the World Economic Forum treat responsible AI as a competitive imperative, necessary to mitigate systemic risks like market power concentration. To make these treaties actionable, the Alan Turing Institute developed process-based governance. This framework is the mechanism designed to pull abstract global principles down to the project management level, ensuring safety throughout the entire AI lifecycle. Global frameworks offer a unified compass, but they lack direct enforcement. This shifts the burden of safety squarely onto the organizations that build and buy these systems. In the current market, frontier AI labs apply these principles with significant variance. This matrix shows 2 different safety philosophies. Anthropic uses constitutional AI, which trains the model to evaluate its own responses against a set of ethical principles. OpenAI utilizes a safety advisory group to review risk models before a system is deployed. Further down, xAI focuses on its risk management framework, which defines specific quantitative thresholds for catastrophic events, such as cyber attacks. Then there are state-aligned models like DeepSeek. While efficient, independent evaluations from the National Institute of Standards and Technology show they are highly vulnerable to jailbreaking. Jailbreaking is the use of specialized prompts to bypass a model's safety filters. Blindly accepting a vendor's terms of service is equivalent to abdicating executive responsibility. Because frontier labs have competing incentives, an organization must build its own internal red lines, absolute limits on AI use, before procuring any model. In Latin America, regional technological divides can severely amplify both the risks and the potential of AI adoption. According to the CENIA Latin American AI Index, Costa Rica is a high-adopting nation. This creates a critical window to establish domestic regulation before the technology outpaces institutional capacity. To address this, MyCTIT published the National Artificial Intelligence Strategy for 2024 to 2027. MyCTIT is the Ministry of Science, Innovation, Technology, and Telecommunications of Costa Rica. The strategy establishes that ethics must be the organizing principle of all AI policy, from infrastructure to public education. A pending piece of legislation, Law 23,771, aims to institutionalize these frameworks, giving the state formal auditing and supervisory powers. Costa Rica is moving towards structural mandates, forcing domestic organizations to prepare for imminent legal compliance. The clearest blueprint for this transition comes from the CONARE public university system. CONARE is the National Council of Rectors, representing Costa Rica's 5 public universities. The University of Costa Rica issued a directive mandating that AI must complement but never substitute high-impact human decisions. UNED is innovating its structure through holacracy, using the Red IA network to align teaching and research under a single ethical framework. Holacracy is a method of decentralized management in which authority is distributed throughout self-organizing teams. The Costa Rica Institute of Technology takes a strict stance on intellectual property, forbidding AI systems from being granted authorship because they lack moral and legal agency. The National University requires cyclical impact assessments to monitor algorithms for privacy risks or gender bias. Meanwhile, the National Technical University ensures technical deployments strictly comply with Law 8968, the National Data Protection Statute. The CONARE system proves that abstract principles can be forged into rigid institutional policies that protect both the mission and the stakeholders. At the micro level of an organization, the 5-pillar pyramid translates directly into a set of sector-specific operational criteria. In the banking sector, transparency requires explainability. If an algorithm denies a loan, the institution must be able to explain the mathematical logic to the client and the regulator. The red line is using opaque algorithms to deny services based on historical biases that discriminate by race or gender. For accounting and auditing, the principle of responsibility translates to traceability. Every anomaly flagged by an AI must have a verifiable path tracing back to the original source data. While AI can detect patterns at scale, human judgment remains the final, accountable authority in every financial audit. In these sectors, processing speed is a liability if the logic cannot be audited and defended in a court of law. For healthcare professionals, the principle of privacy translates into de-identified informed consent. Patients must be informed of the exact percentage of their diagnosis generated by an algorithm, as well as the limitations of that specific technology. Handling biometric data requires compliance with both Costa Rica's Law 8968 and international standards like HIPAA. HIPAA is a regulatory framework that mandates the secure protection and confidential handling of patient health information. Ultimately, relying on a vendor's safety claim is a choice that leadership must own. These process-based criteria provide the structural foundation for high-speed, competitive decision-making. In an environment of rapid algorithmic adoption, the ability to verify and defend every automated choice becomes a core differentiator for the organization. Institutional stability is now built on the strength of your governance matrix.